Welcome to Morning Break with Sherry Woodard. A half hour of news and interviews to help keep you better informed.
And a very good morning to all of you out there. I am glad you could join me on this Thursday, July the 17th, for a morning break. It's a beautiful day out there, and we've got a great program lined up for you, so just sit back and relax for the next half hour. This morning, we will meet the author of a new book that deals with the murder of a 1920s Hollywood big shot, his young mistress, a dope addict comedian, and the mystery person who killed the Hollywood mogul. In case you're saying, what's the big deal about that story? It's been written in one form or another a dozen times. The difference this time is the story is absolutely true. Also this morning, we'll hear from a representative from a relatively new service group called Family Renewal. The group says, among other things, that birth control clinics in schools is a bad idea. We'll talk to that representative. She is the president, and hear a little more about it. But first, here are the morning headlines. While it's expected to be a scorcher of a day out there, things on the picket lines of Detroit city workers could get even hotter than the weather. Mayor Coleman Young is going to court today to force what he calls essential city workers back on the job. He says the city cannot afford to do without garbage collection and water purification services, the absence of which could cause a health and safety hazard, according to the mayor. It is only day 2 of the strike, and so far the walkout has not made much of a difference to city residents, unless, of course, they depend on bus service. We hear more about the effect the strike could eventually have on the city from TV 50's Mike O'Neill.
This is Philadelphia today. Detroiters are hoping the scene here will not be similar a week or two from now. That well could be the case if the strike by 7,000 municipal workers continues. The biggest disruption is the curtailment of bus service, forcing thousands of people to look for alternate forms of transportation. Most city bus shelters stood empty, but a few people forgot the buses weren't running.
I had to come down here to the fuel building and take care of some business. And I just was thinking about it, ride back on the city bus. So I walked over here, going to catch the city bus, and found out that it's not running.
What do you do now?
Well, I'm going to ride the Scepter to 8 Mile in John R. I'm going to get off there, and then I'm going to walk to where I live.
James Landrum admits it's more walking that he likes to do, but a cab is too costly. Many people, though, are indeed turning to taxis.
1634.
Thank you very much.
You want 162.
Checker cab, the dispatchers and operators were busy today. The boss was smiling.
Traditionally, our slow period is June, July, August, and September. So we welcome the bus strike. We hope that they're settled sometime in October or November. And I say that with tongue in cheek, but it couldn't come for us at a better time because it is our slow period.
Among the striking workers in Detroit are the emergency 911 operators.
We're utilizing supervisory personnel up there. The positions are manned. We're in good shape. We started at midnight last night. We haven't had any problems, and we don't anticipate any.
Supervisors are also handling chores in departments at City Hall and the Water Department, but parks will soon take on an unkempt look. Street sweepers and, more importantly, garbage trucks are idled. It's the lack of bus service and trash collection that are the two services affecting the most people at the moment. When a car company is struck, for example, we can simply delay the purchase of a car until the strike is over. But governments, by their very nature, provide essential services to the community, those we cannot provide ourselves. So when the city of Detroit is struck, those services suffer. The buses are not running. The trash isn't piling up yet, but as the strike goes on, there's the unappealing thought that Detroit could begin to look a bit like the streets of Philadelphia. In Detroit, Mike O'Neill, TV 50 News.
And as you saw at the beginning of Mike's report, the streets of Philadelphia are an ugly, smelly mess, and Mayor Wilson Good is taking action. Although temporary trash dump sites have been set up, Mayor Good says the streets and the dump sites are now a health hazard. He, too, is going to court to force some essential city workers back on the job. The drug war is in full swing in Bolivia, and U.S. soldiers are there. About 160 soldiers and helicopters are in that South American country this morning. They are part of an operation to wipe out cocaine manufacturers. The U.S. military personnel and equipment are only in South America in a support capacity. That's according to the White House. And will Lito Iacocca be the next person to occupy the White House? If a committee has its way, he will be. The Draft Lee Iacocca for President committee is in full swing and undertaking a project to get Iacocca in the White House. Iacocca has said over and over again he does not want to be president. That small detail, however, is not hampering the committee's work. Authorities in Detroit are still searching for vials of the deadly AIDS disease that were allegedly stolen from a car on Detroit's Cass Avenue. The car belongs to a doctor and has been recovered. The vials were not found, however. A doctor from the city's health department says it would not be very easy to become infected by the vials just from handling them.
We know that the virus is transmitted via sexual contact or via blood. It needs a particular cell in the blood system to live, and it is for this that it is the need for it to get into the blood system.
If Detroit City Council has its way, women will soon be allowed into the all-male Detroit Athletic Club. The council voted in favor of an ordinance calling for women members. The vote was 5-3. Council says the prestigious DAC is a place of public accommodation. Mayor Young can veto the council's ordinance and has until next Thursday to do so if he so wishes. And on Capitol Hill today, a women's group is doing its part to curb the nuclear arms buildup. More on that from TV 50's Washington correspondent Gloria Moraga.
The arms race and nuclear power topping the news in the nation's capital today. Promoting arms control is what Women for a Meaningful Summit do. Members will gather in Washington today. The coalition of 58 groups will attempt to mobilize women around the nuclear arms controversy and the next U.S.-Soviet summit meeting. The scientist who set up seismic monitoring stations near the Soviet Union's principal nuclear test site is back in the United States, and he will talk today about what he learned there. The Senate Aviation Subcommittee will conduct hearings today on aviation safety. The FAA's aircraft inspection system is just one of the programs to be examined. The National Abortion Rights Action League will hold a press conference today to announce its opposition to the recent Supreme Court nominations. The House Select Committee on Hunger will hold a hearing today on U.S. food assistance and the Food Security Act of 1986. This is a follow-up on overseas food aid legislation enacted last year. It's Thursday. That's Today in Washington. Gloria Moraga for Morning Break.
And in sports, the Detroit Tigers are back in action tonight. They start Game 1 of a 4-game series with the Texas Rangers out at Tiger Stadium, and we certainly wish them well. Weather-wise, hot, humid, and sticky. That sums up our weather picture for the next couple of days. There is a warm front over the southern part of Canada, which is bringing that very hot, that very humid, but pleasantly sunny weather. It will be mostly sunny today, hot and humid. A high of 93 is what we'll look for. As for tonight, skies will be clear. It will be very warm and muggy, an overnight low of 74 degrees expected. As for tomorrow, we can expect pretty much the same thing. Sunny, hot, and humid, a high of 95. And again on Saturday, hot, humid with sunshine, a high again of 95 expected. It's going to heat up out there a lot. And right now in the Motor City, we have sunny skies out there. It was a beautiful morning. The temperature is already, though, up to 82 degrees, and that makes it not so nice. Winds are out of the west at 8 miles per hour. The humidity is 76%, and the barometric pressure reached 30.07 inches, and it is steady at that mark. And if you are looking for a job this morning on the west side of Detroit, there's a job opening for a school teacher. Now, you will be teaching preschool and sometimes grades K through 12, rather. You need a teaching certificate with a degree and a year of experience. The pay is $250 a week. And in the Madison Heights area, there's a job opening for a fiberglass insulator. You can qualify with as little as 3 months of experience, and you will be installing commercial, industrial, and residential buildings. The pay is $6.50 an hour. And if you want more information about those job openings, call the Michigan Employment Security Commission. Their phone number is 876-5010. It is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week service, and best of all, it is absolutely free. Coming up next on Morning Break, a cast of killers. It's a true story. Stay right where you are. Okay, ready for
Island paradise inhabited by lovely young women. It's a perfect haven for a stranded plane. But the ladies don't like strangers.
Kill them.
And they won't listen to logic.
They'd as soon slit our throats.
Now there's more trouble on the way.
Headshot!
We've only got 3 guns. We can only take 3 men.
Peter Lawford and Jane Kennedy fight for their lives on the mysterious island of beautiful women. Monday night at 8 on TV 50, Detroit's movie station.
Use Reynolds Wrap to clean.
To clean?
Just line your pans with Reynolds Wrap, and all your cleanup is a snap. When you cook with Reynolds, you will see your greasy mess is history. Look how easy your life can be when you cook with Reynolds Wrap.
Now, Reynolds presents another way to wrap right. If Reynolds plastic wrap clings tight enough to keep this fruit outside, imagine how fresh it'll keep your fruit inside. Now that's not fair.
And welcome back now to Morning Break. Not too long ago, a novel came out on the market. It is a sensational mystery story. It involves some Hollywood figures, starlets, drugs, a comedian, you name it, all the elements are there. The book is called A Cast of Killers. And as I said earlier, the thing that is different about this book is it is absolutely true. It happened back in the 1920s?
1922.
1922. This is the man who wrote the book, Sidney Kirkpatrick. Good morning to you.
Thank you. Well, it's a very hot day in Detroit, and there's a very cold corpse in Hollywood.
A very cold corpse in Hollywood. Well, nobody's still on ice, not after all these years. But the thing I found interesting is that just recently you picked up a $1,000 reward offered by Paramount Pictures for solving this murder, right?
Yes, well, it's an extraordinary murder. This is a murder that's got absolutely everything: sex, drugs, blackmail, political intrigue, rape, incest. It's just an extraordinary story, and I virtually stumbled on it.
Now, it being we'll get into how you did that in a moment because that's interesting also, but it being a mystery, tell us as much as you dare about the story. I've already guessed who I think the killer is, and I'll pose the question to you. You'll probably avoid it, but go ahead and tell us some of the plot.
Well, what was just so fascinating is the bizarre turns that happened right at the very first few moments that that murder was discovered. The Wilshire Division of Los Angeles Police Department got a call at 8:30 in the morning that William Desmond Taylor had been found dead. Now, they didn't have to be told who William Desmond Taylor was. He was an incredible director, president of the Directors Association. Paramount had built a whole studio for him. He was as important as, say, Steven Spielberg today.
And
right.
The year then was what, 1922?
1922.
Yeah.
2 officers were dispatched to his bungalow. And indeed, William Desmond Taylor was found dead. But there was no sign of a struggle, no blood on the walls.
Nothing.
In fact, he was laid out so perfectly, it looked like he was about to be placed into a coffin. What was incredible is that there were upwards to 11 different people at the bungalow that morning. They were virtually ransacking through his things.
And I hear his cook was in the kitchen, or his servant or whatever, just calmly washing dishes.
Washing dishes? Well, a lot of people thought he was wiping away fingerprints. As the police detectives are trying to stop the ransacking, two officials are kneeling by the fireplace burning papers. Mabel Normand, a great, huge comedian, someone along the lines of John Belushi now. Of course, John didn't look as good in a dress, but
well, they both had
desperately hunting for her love letters. And all the while, a doctor appears at the front door, introduces himself as a man sent from the coroner's office to examine the body, which he proceeds to do so. After 3 minutes, he immediately declares that William Desmond Taylor has died of a stomach hemorrhage.
When the man has a bullet hole where in his hand or in his back?
They haven't discovered that yet.
No?
No, police stop the ransacking. They write up an initial report that William Desmond Taylor has died of natural causes, and immediately usher everyone out of the bungalow. They can't wait to get away. They jump in their Packard limousines and they take off. Well, minutes later, the real coroner arrives. Takes one look at the dead director, turn that man over. There's a bullet hole in the middle of his back and a pool of blood underneath him. All of a sudden, all of the events that had occurred earlier that morning took on a different significance.
Sure.
They start opening the drawers, start looking through his belongings. Supposedly, 100 pairs of frilly pink panties, women's lingerie, were found upstairs in a drawer, each initialed with names and a date, supposed reminders to the director of his sexual conquest.
I see. Doesn't sound like a very secure man. So he'd save the underwear of his conquest, as it were.
A set of keys was found in his pocket, which opened no doors, no locks police were ever able to find. 2 days into their investigation, they realized that they didn't even know who exactly it was that they were investigating. There was no such man as William Desmond Taylor, as it turned out. Here was a man that had suddenly appeared in Hollywood 5 years before as an actor, worked himself up into a director, and finally to the very pinnacle of Hollywood society, of his profession, and they didn't even know who he was. He was a man without a past, an incredible dark side to his life.
Turns out he was from New York, where he had a family back there?
You know, a nationwide hunt began. They interviewed people all over the place, even in Detroit. At one time, they had one of the suspects holed up in a hotel room, locked up.
Do you know the name of the hotel?
I don't want to mention it really on the air.
Is it still standing?
It's still standing.
Oh.
Well, what they discovered about William Desmond Taylor was that his name was William Dean Tanner. He had mysteriously vanished from his home in Ireland, had a job in England, in London, mysteriously vanished from London, came to New York, opened an antique business, was making $35,000 a year. This is in 1917, 1916, exorbitant salary.
Sure.
Had a wife and child. With no notice at all, up and vanished. Told his wife he was going to the races on Long Island. Was never seen again.
Why did he do that? Why did he go out to Hollywood and change his name to keep his wife from finding him?
Well, this is a story as juicy as you could ever believe. It has all the elements of fiction.
So you're not going to answer that question, huh?
Well, it's going to give away a certain secret element to the real dark side of William Desmond Taylor.
Now, one key character in this was a young starlet at that time named Mary Miles Minter.
Well, there were actually 200 suspects in the first year of the investigation. It narrowed down. There was Mabel Normand, the comedian. Now, she said she had come to visit Taylor the night before to borrow a book. This is literally 5 minutes before his shot. She said she wanted to discuss literature. Now, nobody believed her. They didn't believe her because days after the investigation, it was revealed she was a drug addict. She had a terrible cocaine problem. And they suspected her supplier was none other than William Desmond Taylor himself. Mary Miles Minter, a beautiful starlet, as beautiful a young girl as one could ever imagine.
How young was she?
People were so struck by her. She'd walk down the street. People would just stop and stare.
How young
16,
was she?
17 years old.
She was a child.
She was a child. She was Paramount Studios' replacement for Mary Pickford, a huge star, a star whose love letters, whose panties, whose embroidered panties were found in Taylor's drawer, and a woman who went to her deathbed claiming not to have visited William Desmond Taylor for 2 months prior to his murder.
And then another key character was her mother, who was very protective of her.
As wicked, as vile a stage mother manager as anyone could ever imagine. Here's a woman, for example, one afternoon at the studio, Mary just didn't want to act. She was uptight. She said, I can't handle this anymore. She was pulling her hair. She ran into her dressing room. Her mother, who was on stage, ran and grabbed the one thing that was closest to Mary, her dog. This little puppy called Woof Woof. Her mother grabbed the puppy, sat her on the table, pulled a .38 caliber pistol out of her purse, shoved it in the dog's mouth, screamed, Mary, if you don't come out of that dressing room, you're going to have to pick up the pieces of your dog all over the stage. That is how wicked this woman was. In fact, life at the Mary Miles Minter home, makes life at the Bates Motel look like Disneyland. This is it, just...
You know, it would be easy to understand. Was Mary Miles Minter mentally unstable? Was she a disturbed young woman?
All kinds of revelations came out. At the time of the murder, she was the princess of Hollywood, considered a virgin. Well, right to her deathbed, she claimed she had saved her love for William Desmond Taylor.
Well, if she was his mistress, how could she be a virgin?
Well, the public and the police knew that both Mabel Normand, Mary Miles Minter, Charlotte Shelby knew a great deal of the story that they had never told, that they had never publicly told. And it took a really extraordinary detective, an insider,
to figure it out. Now, my guess would
detail.
be that the mother did it. And I know you're not going to expand on that. We're about out of time, though. So let me ask you very quickly. You kind of stumbled on this story by accident. You were doing something else.
Yeah, I was hired to write the biography of a great Hollywood film director, King Vidor. Here's a man who brought us such films as The Fountainhead, Duel in the Sun, War and Peace. Magnificent. And I discovered, in going through his papers, a locked trunk I discovered that he had launched his own secret private investigation. He had named the killer, and in a cast of killers, I reveal his findings.
Okay.
My story is about an aging film director solving the murder of a friend. What's so great about this, and it's so unlike reality, everyone gets their just desserts. And it is so rare that people who live good, happy lives in 1920s end up living rich, rewarding lives in the end. The vile, the vicious, the wicked people
Did what they
don't
had
go to
coming to
jail, but they live at a private hell the rest of their lives.
Okay, very interesting. The book is called A Cast of Killers. It's going to be made into a movie soon, as I understand. Is that true?
Exactly, Paramount Studios.
Okay, well, you're doing well. You used to make documentaries. I take it now you will probably get more into the feature film area.
Well, I'm writing the screenplay of this with a fantastic director-writer named Robert Towne,
Okay.
man who brought us Chinatown.
Oh, wonderful movie. We'll look for it. Sidney Kirkpatrick, thank you for coming on this morning.
My pleasure.
And when we come back, we're going to talk with the president of Family Renewal about birth control clinics in schools. Should they be or should they not be? We'll find out. Stay right where you are.
Clutch starts rocking. There's just one place I'll be knocking, because I'm loyal to Royal.
I got the Royal treatment. That's why I'm loyal to Royal. At Royal, we'll repair your car's transmission quickly, expertly, and at a fair price. Come into one of our convenient locations and join all the satisfied customers who say, I'm loyal to Royal.
I do the driving for my church, so I can't let transmission problems leave me in the lurch. I'm loyal to Royal.
Be loyal to Royal and drive yourself happy.
Uncle Robinson is overloaded with beautiful name-brand furniture that must be sold at once. So to move it out, Uncle Robinson will sell it all now at 50% off and more. That's right, come in now and save 50% off living rooms, bedrooms, dining rooms, and more. Nothing held back. Everything must go. No reasonable offer refused. So don't miss the savings going on now at Robinson Furniture on 8 Mile at DeQuinder. Call 368-6933. Specials will be withdrawn this Monday, so hurry in now.
And welcome back to Morning Break. As I said earlier, there's a relatively new service out there. It's a service group, rather. It's called Family Renewal. And with me this morning is the president of that group. Her name is Sylvia Dufresne. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
As I said, this is a new group. You're almost approaching your first anniversary. Is that right?
That's correct.
What is the group about, basically?
Well, what we really want to be is a resource for families. There are many things that are happening that we feel are an absolute attack on the family. There are many things where parents are losing their rights on behalf of their children, and many things that are being done that parents aren't even aware of. And so we just kind of dig in and do research and stay in contact with other groups that feed into us, and we just want to make the public aware of many things that are happening.
Try to act as a referral service for where these families can get help.
Right, and then of course to go in to initiate, everybody always needs somebody to start something going to get the ball rolling, and that's kind of what we do, is to get in there and get things moving.
Now I understand one issue that you've kind of taken a stance on as a group is birth control clinics in the schools. Your group is against that. Tell us why.
Okay, basically this is how Family Renewal really got started. There was a conference last summer at Oakland University, and they were addressing the teen pregnancy situation. And out of that conference, there were two things that had tied for top priority. One was a media blitz on abstinence, to go full steam ahead in regarding to teaching children that postponing sex, until after you were married was the way to go. And the other thing that came in was the birth control clinics. And so, but the abstinence went out, but because of some circumstances of events, which we were told, it flipped over to the clinic situation, and the monies, so-called, were not there for the media blitz, but they were there for the clinics.
Okay, so there was going to be a media blitz to propose the idea of having birth control clinics in schools.
No, well, they're working on that now.
Okay.
They're working on that now, but the initial was to prevent having sex.
To promote abstinence instead of the birth control
yes,
clinics. Now, what would be wrong with having a birth control clinic in schools? Why do you think that's a bad idea?
Well, for one thing, the children are so exposed. There are so many health risks, too, when you're dealing with the pill. Is actually the main thing that is promoted. It's quick. Everything can be spontaneous. The only problem is we have had medical reports that the pill does create alterations in the woman's body that make you more susceptible to VD. VD and herpes and now AIDS, everything is escalating, and all the thing that is being zeroed in on seems to be the fact that keep the child from being pregnant. They're not looking at the aspect of the disease and the things that are going to, psychological effects of the child, and what happens if the child becomes pregnant.
Well, let me ask you this. I would think that if some of these birth control clinics were not available, then the young women or the young girls would end up getting pregnant and getting venereal disease. At least if they had birth control, they wouldn't get pregnant at least. What do you say to that?
Well, the only thing is if that were true, but see, the contraceptive use of today is going more and more, but they're still getting pregnant. And to quote one of the clinics in Muskegon, they have said that although the birth rate is going down, the pregnancy rate hasn't changed. And of course, everybody's spelling that out to be a success. But you see, if pregnancy rate hasn't changed and birth rates have gone down, there's only one thing left to the imagination, and that's abortions. So that doesn't really spell success.
If these clinics were not there, do you think even more young girls would get pregnant? Is that a possibility, you think?
Well, I think you have to go back to a foundation. I think you have to get back to why are we trying to promote and encourage sexual behavior instead of going back and teaching self-respect and self-esteem.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, some people would say that in some cases it's too late for that. These kids are 14, 15, 16 years old, and they are pretty much placed into a mindset already, and since they're going to have sex, at least you can offer them some means of birth control. I don't know, it sounds like you're saying that if the clinics are there, then that's going to give them the idea to have sex. I don't know if I fully agree with that. It's like, if they don't know about birth control, then they won't have sex. Is that the argument that you make, pretty much?
Well, if the one thing that seems to be promoted is the confidentiality. Okay, children can go in and get these services, even though they're promoting the fact that they have to have permission slips. Okay, that means that they can't go in and have these services. But you see, under state law, the child, when you're regarding to anything sexually oriented, they can have these services without parental knowledge or consent. So if you were a child pressured by peer pressure, and these were not the things that you were taught in your home to engage in sex, then the pressures with the outside and the availability of the clinic within the school, and nobody's going to know, what do you think that child's going to do?
I don't know. I get the feeling if they had to have permission slips, then they'd say, okay, so I can't get birth control and still go out and have sex. But I can agree with something you're saying, in that something needs to be taught on a basic level. Something needs to be taught as far as morals go, as far as proper behavior. What is your group doing at all to make that happen?
Well, one of the things we're at hand doing is looking into very good sex education programs. There's a lot of things happening in the schools under the title of sex ed and going into classes that it doesn't have the right to go into, that should be earmarked specially for sex ed.
Okay.
So we're looking into specific sex ed programs that are just that, are very wholesome, direct to the point, are not flowered up with a lot of things that are putting ideas into children's heads.
Okay, we're out of time, Sylvia, but I want to thank you for coming on and telling us about your group, and happy first anniversary.
Well, thank you.
There's a number on the screen for anyone wanting more information. It's called Family Renewal Program, and we'll be back in a moment.
Do you have ideas of people or topics you'd like to see on Morning Break? Please let us know. Drop us a line here at TV 50.
And thank you for being with us this Thursday morning. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
This has been Morning Break with host Sherry Woodard. A live update of news and interviews seen every weekday morning at 10:30 here on TV 50.
Broadcast time for the following program has been purchased by the sponsor and does not necessarily reflect the views of this station, WKBD TV 50, Detroit.
Giant charity events such as